Hello, this is my submission for Article Analysis 7, Corporate Social Responsibility, Motivation, Pressures, and Barriers. What is the major overriding issue? The paper explores the driving factors behind corporate social responsibility by exploring data from the US and mainland China. It identifies 5 key factors of corporate social responsibility, and they are listed in descending order of importance from business motivation to pressures from the market and society to barriers from the internal and external environment to ethical motivations, and finally pressures from institutions and supervisors. Who are the stakeholders? I said the stakeholders are the companies and their consumers and employees and the rest of their stakeholders. The companies who engage in corporate social responsibilities do have a lot of strengths to play off of. Obviously, there is the image or the public perception. They being seen as a socially aware and responsible business that takes care of the environment, that cares about cultural and social issues, can be a great marketing technique or advantage. A lot of younger people today, I relate to younger people because I am younger and this is what I know more so than any other generation. A lot of younger people today are very intentional about how they spend their money, and I may use myself as an example. I haven't eaten at Chick-fil-A in very many years because I learned of the actions of their CEO, who regularly donates to conversion camps, which are camps that young LGBTQ youths are sent to convert them back to heterosexuality. So they have very anti-homophobic actions and decisions, and they regularly put money to funding these events that are very homophobic in nature. So a weakness could be the fact that public image/perception doesn't always translate into greater revenue, as most of the time the public is very divided on how they feel about an issue. Related back to what I just mentioned about the example, I, as a consumer, choose not to spend my money at a company that goes against what I believe in. But there are a lot of other people who are within the LGBTQ community who don't care about the practices of Chick-fil-A's CEO, and they regularly spend their money at Chick-fil-A because the food is good, and they regularly make jokes about the fact that they're eating homophobic chicken or whatever meal they get from Chick-fil-A. So, the public is very divided. You can have a group of people who are like, no, I can't support you. You do this, you do that, and then another group of people who are like, yeah, but the food is good, so I'm gonna keep spending my money there. So, as a group, consumers do have a lot of power because they are the one bringing the money and spending the money. But unless they're united in what decisions they're going to make and where they stand, that power isn't really felt. A common case or something that comes to my mind is the civil rights movement, when the activists chose not to ride the buses to cripple the economy of the states that they were protesting in. If some of them, even a little bit of them, decided that they couldn't afford to not ride the bus and decided to ride the bus anyways instead of carpooling or walking to their jobs or whatever the case may be, the effects of what they were trying to do may not have been felt as strongly as it was when all of them was united in this decision, and the sacrifice it took to make that happen. So a threat to consumer powers is that, like I said, again, unless they're united, the power of their money, of their dollar, cannot be felt. A company that engages in corporate social responsibility is creating benefits for their employees, their stakeholders, their consumers, because they are actively engaging activities to bring about the well-being of society, which includes the consumers and their employees, etc. I made a connection to Ben & Jerry's. It's a very popular brand. the ice cream is very good, but also Ben and Jerry are very strong vocal activists for racial issues, police brutality, and all manners of social issues that are happening within the country, specifically the United States. So that makes them very popular amongst a lot of their consumer base, because a lot of them tend to support Ben and Jerry's because they're so, strong, fast in what they believe, and they tend to put their money behind their beliefs, and they want to support a company that does that. What issues are at play here? I said that I think this paper does a really great job at combating the long-standing general belief that most companies engage in corporate social responsibility for the financial reward aspect of it. There seems to be a common misconception, which has been disproven by this paper, at least to me, that there is a linear connection between corporate social responsibility and increased financial performance. Like I said, I was under the belief that the more a company does for the community it profits off us or it operates within, the better its image as a corporate citizen will be, and consequently, the more consumers and employees it will attract. In the case of Ben and Jerry, I think that's kind of like stories like that is where I kind of got that idea from. Business motivation being the main factor behind corporate social responsibility was very surprising to me, because it's not necessarily economical in nature. And when compared, human-oriented variables tend to come out as being more important than non-human variables. In the study of this paper, it always seemed like a win-win situation when the company actively tries to better the environment or the country it's operating off of, while gaining economic profit out of it. But as I've seen with the paper, that the companies that do engage in corporate social responsibility are doing so because ethics and ethical decisions and all that is already a big part of the organization's culture. So being a corporately socially responsible company just makes sense. It just seemed like a next step within this culture of ethical decision making and responsibility. So what was my reaction? Like I said, I was very surprised by the findings of this paper. I was always under the impression that a company's main motivation for engaging in corporate social responsibility was always financial and economical in nature. To some extent, I guess I was right. Obviously, companies want to have the competitive advantages that comes with the image of a business that is a socially responsible corporate citizen. And I'm sure that this image does influence some measure of the consumer market. Like I said, people do care about the environment and the social issues and are willing to support businesses that show that they are good corporate citizens. I'm sure there are people like that who cares, and I don't want to make myself seem like the poster child for that, because I don't put my money where my beliefs should be always. It's just in the case of Chick-fil-A is very I'm very steadfast in that because of how blatant the CEO actions are towards the LGBTQ community. It's very obvious, it's unforgiving, and it's just, they don't care. And so I'm like, I just can't support that. My recommendation, I would have liked the paper to explore the relationship between corporate social responsibility and financial performance. In the beginning, it does beg some questions about whether or not corporate social responsibility actually does increase the financial performances of a company that engage in them, or does it decrease it, or is there no effect on it at all? And I was hoping that it would go into more detail about that, but it didn't go that direction. So I would like to have explored that aspect in more detail. Obviously, there is a connection between corporate social responsibility and financial performance. Maybe it's not as strong as I think, or as many people seem to think, but I'm sure there are companies who don't really care about being socially responsible that do it for the financial aspect of it. And I kind of want to see what their numbers look like. I want to see between a company that does it genuinely versus a company that does it just for show, and like what the difference is, especially between a small, medium-sized business versus a large corporation.